Frank? Okay.
Yes, I am, Kip.
All right, let's welcome our audience. Welcome to the Ready, Set, Gemini podcast. This is the news edition with Dan and Frank. I am Dan Mora, and across from me,
Frank's missing here.
Yeah. So thank you for joining us. We appreciate the likes, the follows, subscriptions, comments.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We just saw one comment from one of our last ones. It was kind of nice.
Yeah, definitely. I was on the universal health care.
Yeah.
They were thinking it'll go more towards subrogation, like Medicaid and Medicare is what they were suggesting. So it's good to have feedback.
Great to have feedback. We're appreciative.
Yeah.
Give that firm a shout out.
I'll give you some feedback. Your stash is interesting.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about confidence with the stash.
It's got to be.
It's got to be.
It's got to be.
Yeah, you like it?
It's beautiful. I think it's one of the most well put together costumes I've ever seen. For those of you that don't know, he's dressed up like Kip from Napoleon Dynamite.
Mm-hmm. I've been training to be a cage fighter.
Yes, that's awesome.
So today we are going to talk about the DWC issued a news line saying that they were going to look at updating EAMS.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Curious what that's going to look like.
What is that going to look like?
Here comes negativity again. I mean, if it looks like anything like what Jetfiler was supposed to be, then it's nothing, in my view.
Well, what's the purpose of EAMS?
To file documents into the court. I mean, if we're talking about the EAMS adjudication management system as an entirety, it also is like the case management system for judges, how they organize and run their cases.
We can say positively that it has positively affected the system.
I can say it's really great to have a single software solution for the entire state where people can go in and do electronic filing. It's great. I can tell you that in civil, that's not even the case. There's still some courts that are filing with paper. In addition to that, the way civil works is each individual court has their own filing system, so it's not like one state-ran thing. So there's a lot of complexities to navigate there. So in that sense, I mean, EAMS is fantastic. It's a little bit of dated technology for my blood.
Yeah, so what was it, 05, I think. I may have my dates wrong, but I think it was 05 is when the legislation that spurred the creation of EAMS in 2005, and then we were talking in, I think, 9 and 10, 11 is when it basically was launched.
Yeah, I think like 10, probably closer to 12 years ago, I think is when it came about. It was, and correct me, I could be wrong here, recalling back that it was a welfare system that Ireland was using that they purchased for $13 million. They brought it over and then converted it however they needed to set it up for the judges and for filing.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think about that $13 million?
I think that you could hire 4 engineers and a product owner and have them work on a product for 13 years straight, and you would have a heck of a lot more of a system from my perspective. I mean, if you were Silicon Valley mindset and you built it like a modern tech company, it could be a lot more functional than what it is now. Granted, I'm not a judge, so I don't interact in the inner workings. FileNet, I think, is that inside piece that people refer to. And I know there's a lot of great information in there that would be great for copy services to tap into to provide additional services and things like that to our clients. Case management systems could integrate with it. So there's a lot of potential just from the nature of tech.
Yeah.
But the problem is EAMS and Jetfiler, the two software services that we interact with, just been really slow to develop. So I'm curious where this will go. I mean, digital signatures, I think that was a part of it, right?
Yeah, what I read was that e-signatures, e-signatures was, the two highlights I got was e-signatures and all of the documents were
all of the documents.
All the documents necessary were supposed to be updated into a digital format in the EAMS.
In the EAMS. So nothing with the filing itself. Like there's no mandate on electronic filing.
Well, that's kind of what I understood, that all e-filing, the e-filing was going to include all forms. That was part of what they suggested as an update.
So when they say e-filing, there's two systems. There's EAMS, where you can go to a website and you can submit all forms now through that system. It is siloed in that there's no integrations that can happen with that system. So let's say you're running a case management system. You have all your data in there, and then you want to file a form. You can't use that data to then populate that website. You have to go and manually fill out everything that you need and then do the submission. And even at the end, like I know people are taking screenshots of like the last page, which is the confirmation, because there's like a risk that the filing itself may not even go through. This is, year and a half, 2 years ago that I was messing with this. So it could be different now, but that was somewhat of the experience. So that's EAMS. The other system is JetFile. And that system, when it came out 10, 12 years ago, started with 7 forms. I think it's only like up to 12, something like that, maybe a couple more. And when they first announced, the idea was like, hey, we're going to expand and this is going to take all forms. And that system is great because it does allow for integration. So a lot of the copy services, other case management systems, other vendors are using that system now and allowing the client's data that they put in their system to populate that form, send it off electronically. It's just real fast. But 13 forms out of probably over 100. So when I hear that they're going to move towards electronic, I would really hope that they're talking about getting rid of the EAMS system and bringing everything in the JetFile, or maybe they can open up some type of integration path into EAMS itself and start making that system a lot better.
It makes me wonder why this has been so slow to develop. It almost feels as though the government is still in a very experimental phase with technology, and that is expensive. An experimental phase is very, very, very expensive. How do you figure out the finances and the approvals and the updates and all of those inner workings that are necessary for a technology system that is relied upon?
And then you have like legislatures that are looking at these systems and allocating the funds and things like that. Are these tech people? Like I'm thinking that they're not. I just think of the way that the current infrastructure of JetFiler is set up.
If you were a tech person, would you be hanging out in government halls and waiting for? You're just sitting there watching a clock, waiting for a hearing that's 2 years away or a year away. You're waiting for a hearing. Okay, I've done my research, I've done my report, and you're just looking at the clock. And to me, this is incredibly progressive, and technology itself is incredibly important and progressive. And so the best minds, even if you were the governor and you're going to appoint the best minds into the government sphere.
Is that what's happening?
I think that's what he's attempting to do.
Sure. And hopefully, now that we kind of have this big influx of tech over the past, I think beginning of COVID really kind of kicked us into high gear and showed people like, hey, you need this stuff to be successful. So maybe they're, more focused on it now. Before, there's a lot of like aversion to tech. Like the idea of the cloud was, oh, we don't want that. That's crazy. You're telling me I don't have control of my own data?
Yeah.
And now the opposite is true. Like people are asking for cloud-based solutions. They don't want to be responsible for managing their own security and for fear of hacking and things of that nature. So, look, if they can get all forms set up to where you can do digital submissions with integrations, like they give that opportunity as well to these other providers, I think it would be fantastic. So cross my fingers.
You're right. I think that COVID is a good thing to point at as a catalyst. Part of actually doing e-signatures is just the normalization of technology in your general user. And I think there's a big portion of that if we talk about kind of the speed of government and the speed of government in tech, and it being very frustrating from the outside. What they're mandated to do is to create technology for the lowest common denominator. So if you're an injured worker that has, English as your second language, for example, and you're a low economic status, that's who they're looking at to target technology for. And the general adoption, the education comes in. If you're a technologist in the government, you're probably a big portion of your job is to be educating the public on technology.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much access the injured workers themselves have. It's the attorneys that are really running the show and doing all the work on behalf of those. And that makes sense. You need somebody to navigate that system. There's a lot of complexities, right?
Definitely. Mostly, but they do recognize that improper self-represented injured workers are...
Could you imagine running that work comp system like that?
I mean, they have to.
I wouldn't do it. Right?
Well, that's kind of the highlight, or that's kind of the point, is the amount of education that you have to bake into your program for your technologist is critical. And again, if I was a technologist and sitting in the state and be I'd be just watching the clock. Like, how long is it going to take for the general public to be okay with e-signatures?
Good question. Even the attorneys, when it comes to e-signatures, the laws themselves are kind of interesting.
Yeah.
An S-signature, is it written properly?
A lot has happened. I mean, just so much has happened in technology in the last 10, 20 years. And you were just talking about the adoption of the cloud. You and I both were in the trenches selling attorneys on cloud. That was a fun time. And we just read an article that, the 75% of firms are now using cloud-based technologies and asking for cloud-based technologies. They see the benefit in protection and cybersecurity and in talent retention. I think that's pretty important.
Yep.
And the article said that ABA reports that 29% of firms have had a cyber attack, with 30% of those.
37%.
Yeah, 37% of those 29% that have admitted to lost revenue.
Yeah.
And the spend on technology, legal technology, by 2025 is supposed to be 3 times compounded, which is pretty good. And the revenue from legal tech in 2025 is estimated to be $25.17 billion.
Yeah, get in while you can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that, gosh, I always go back to this government system and their ability to keep up.
We're integrated with JetFile. We have a product called JetFiler. You can go in and submit all your forms. And we've been live with that system for many, many years now. And I think there's been like 2 updates the whole time. And they added like a couple of additional forms that our clients didn't even want.
Yeah.
So it's like, we don't even need to support them.
Admittedly, as a technologist myself and as a business owner, trying to wrangle all the cats and all the necessary things that are in and around technology, admittedly, I understand the complexity that these administrators are facing, and it feels like they're in a hold mode until they have a very, very sure idea about what they want to do going forward.
So they've been in a hold mode for 12 years, is what you're telling me? Like, I'm just thinking,
I
don't have a lot of experience with like the internal workings of the system. But from what I can tell, the pieces that we touch with the attorneys, it's like super slow.
Mm-hmm.
We have a tech team. I mean, ours is pretty significant now. We've got 3 teams running. And any one of those teams would be able to make tenfold the updates.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You wonder why. What's the
red tape and bureaucracy is what I'm guessing. Or maybe they're fixing a lot of great things that are on
that we're not seeing,
maybe higher priority. So,
right.
As negative as I am, I really don't know.
Yeah. We can say that, since we've been in this industry, we have seen that EAMS and jet filing has been a definite upgrade.
Because we're offering the solution, so the clients get a really good, nice user interface experience and a simplistic flow, and we take care of all of that.
To their
legwork.
To their credit, they gave the keys.
They did.
They gave us the keys.
They did.
So that makes sense. A lot of other people. Any point you want to wrap up with on this topic?
No, I'm just hopeful for the future. I mean, they're going to have to figure it out. And they're going to save themselves a lot of money when they do.
Yeah, I think that's the key is the financial cost is just enormous for the inefficiencies and the upgrades to efficiency. Those numbers should not be. It's almost it's almost as if they address those numbers not on a continual basis, and then they get to a legislative session and then they address the numbers and they're like, this is huge and we have to do something. Oh, okay, now we got to do something. But
in a perfect world, you go in and you file electronically. You get all the notices sent electronically. Everybody on the other end is immediately aware. Oh, here's my next step I need to do because I received this filing, and they go in and electronically file. Get rid of all this paper, all the mail, all the postage.
Yeah.
It's a win-win all the way around.
Done some good things, but there is a public comment period that ends on the 4th of November. So a few days from now, 4 days from now, is the expiration of the public comment period. So we're looking forward to hopefully contributing to that, and you want to encourage everybody else to do that.
Yeah, we should put our the text of regulations up so you guys can read it for yourself and maybe take advantage of that public comment, and then comment with us too.
Yep. And thanks for joining us. Comment, subscribe, like, do all that stuff, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Kip.